these are your 5B day 1 notes. 5B is pretty similar to 5A. We're just adding a couple things. So let's start with a quick review. We have these 5, or I don't know, I can't count. We have these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 important vocabulary words, and let's just label where they go again. So first things first, our horizontal axis is our x-axis. And in science, you've probably heard these words before, independent and dependent variable. Your independent variable is always on your x-axis. So this should be similar to what you've done in science class. So again, your x-axis is where your independent variable would be located. So we have our independent variable. Okay, next we have our vertical axis, which is our y-axis. Our y-axis is also our dependent variable. What does that mean? That means when we're looking at slope or rate of change, as our independent variable changes, that affects and determines how our y variable changes. So the y variable is dependent on the x variable. And this will make more sense when we're doing it in context. So for now, let's just remember that our vertical axis is our y-axis, and our vertical axis or y-axis represents our dependent variables. Help if I could spell. There we go. Okay. Now we have 2 more things that should be a review for you. The first one is we have our origin. Our origin is our center of the graph. So this is the point 0, 0. This is our origin. The point 0, 0. And last, we have an ordered pair. An ordered pair is a number on the coordinate plane or a number on a graph that contains a y point and an x point. So it's the combination of a number on the y-axis and a number on the x-axis. So this is our ordered pair. Okay, now that we've reviewed the vocabulary, let's go ahead and move to our next page. Now I am going to introduce another new concept or vocabulary word that is part of slope. So we have something here called the y-intercept. And you're going to be hearing this a lot this unit. So the y-intercept, it is the point on the line where x is 0. So we have our vertical axis, and remember this is our y-axis, okay? So the y-intercept is the point that is on that line. Here, x is 0, and the intercept is whatever number is on this y-axis. Okay? So, how do we find the y-intercept? We just look at this vertical line, and we find the point that is on that line. So if I look here, I can see that this is the point 1, 2, 3. So what does that mean? That means my y-intercept would be 0, 3. Why? Because 3 is the point on the y-axis. Next, we're going to determine slope. And slope is found the same way that we've been finding it from 5a. So how do I find slope? Well, I start at the point that's farthest to the left. In this case, it is the y-intercept. Now, I'm going to count down the y-intercept. So to get to this next point, I go down 1, 2. So my change in y is -2. And then I have to go to the right 1, 2. So my change in x is 2. And remember, our slope is always written as a fraction, and it's y over x. So because I went down 2, that means my change in y is 2, and I went across 2, so my change in x is 2. So what does that mean? My slope is -2 over 2, and we can simplify that to be -1 or -1 over 1. Okay, please make sure you have all this information in your notes. Okay, we're going to try a couple examples now. So my first step is I need to determine what the point is on my vertical axis. I can see when I go down my vertical axis that the point on the axis is right here. And to determine what that point is, I need to start at my origin, and I go 1, 2. So this is the point 0, because my x is 0, and my y value is -2. So my y-intercept would be 0, -2. Now to find the slope, I'm going to do the same thing that I've been doing. So even though the y-intercept is here, we are still going to start with our point that's farthest to the left. So let's see how much we have to travel up and down and across to find the slope. So I go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I went down 6, so my change in y would be -6, and then I move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the right. So my change in x would be 5. What is my slope then? -6 over 5. All right. And remember, as you're doing these notes, you're going to pause and write things down at your own pace. Let's start with the next one. What is my y-intercept? My y-intercept is the point on my y-axis, which is my vertical axis. Okay? Now I've found the point right here. And to determine its value, I need to see how far the point is from the origin. So my origin is here. It is 1, 2, 3. So that means my y-intercept is 0, -3. Remember that the y-intercept, your x value is always 0 because it is not any, there's not any movement across the horizontal axis. So your y-intercept, the first point is always going to be 0. Your x is 0, and then your y is the number on the vertical axis. Now let's find slope. Again, we find slope by looking at the change in y over the change in x. So let's see, I start at my leftmost point, which happens to be the intercept, and I go up 1, 2, 3, 4. My change in y is +4 because I went up, and then my change in x, remember I always move to the right, I go out 1, 2, 3, 4. So my change in x is 4, which remember, a number divided by itself is always equal to 1, so this could be simplified to 1 over 1. Let's look at this next one. We have, first we're going to find, like I said, that y-intercept. The y-intercept is the point on the vertical axis. The point where that crosses this y-axis. Right there, I see it. So start at my origin, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that means my y-intercept is 0, 8. Now for this one, in order to find the slope, I'm going to look here and I can see that is a horizontal line. What does that mean? That means my slope is 0. All right, last one. If you want to pause and try by yourself, go for it. If not, just follow along. All right, my first thing is I'm going to find my y-intercept by locating the point on my vertical axis. The point on my vertical axis is right here. So that's my y-intercept. I start at my origin, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that means my y-intercept would be 0, 6. Remember, x is always 0. All right, now that I found my y-intercept, I'm going to find my slope. Remember, I start with the point that's farthest to the left, which would be this point right here. And I find my change in y over my change in x. So I go up 1, 2, 3. So my change in y is a positive 3 because I went up. And then my change in x is 1, 2, 3, 4. So my change in x would be 4. All right. So here's a review of slope and how to find the y-intercept. Make sure that you have this in your notes, and again, pause, or you can slow me down if you need to. All right, let's move on. If I look at this coordinate plane, we are identifying similar things that we did at the beginning of this video. So I'm going to skip a couple things because I know that we've reviewed them enough. So I'm not going to go in depth with this. I'm just going to look at this. So when I look here, I see that the point on the y-axis, right? This point right here, that is known as my y-intercept. All right. Then I look over here. Remember, I'm going up and over my change in y over my change in x, and that is my slope. These are the big ones I want you to remember. Okay, so make sure you have just this down, and then we'll go to the next page. Okay, here is the last page. What I would like you to do right now is pause your video. Try these on your own, and then come back and check your answers. It's really important that you see where you're at independently, so please pause the video and try before you continue to watch. Okay, hopefully you tried on your own, and we're going to go through the answers.